I say to you, circus clown, what image comes to mind? Grease paint on the face, a big red nose, silly gags? Well, all of that may be true, but there are many deeply intelligent and wise nuances behind the art of clowning that reveal the clown figure as potentially one of the most authentic healers in society. The best clowns remind me of the Fool card in tarot. Open-hearted, open-minded, innocent, pure, joyful, risk-taking. A figure dancing along the edge of a cliff with this incredible sense of freedom, trusting that whoever and whatever they encounter on their path, even if they fall or stumble along the way, everyone and everything they encounter are there to love and care for him as he loves and cares for them. Circus clowns don't always wear a big red nose. They dance outside the box in their freedom of mind, willing to entertain the absurd, expose hypocrisy, poke fun at social conventions and tyrannical power. They highlight injustice, and they're willing to spontaneously improvise with whatever shows up. They expose their own quirks and vulnerabilities. They're willing to peel off all social masks, and ultimately they show how connected we all are. On this episode of Mythic Mel, I had the honor of speaking with such a one, Alexandre Pavlata, Alex for short, a French clown whose family legacy in circus goes back over 8 generations. Alex comes from a Czech circus family who fled the Russian invasion of Prague in 1968. His first appearance in the ring was in the Big Apple Circus when he was just 5 years old, where his father Sacha was then performing. Since that time, Alex has not stopped evolving and making people laugh, bringing his uniquely creative mind, vision, and subversive art to all kinds of contexts: circuses, cabarets, street performances, in his one-man show playing the character Francky O Right. He founded and directed Compagnie Numero 8, Company Number 8, which has performed at prestigious festivals and theaters around Europe and beyond, and so much more. I'll be putting all of Alex's links into the show notes for anybody who wants to dig deeper. Alex incorporates dance, physical comedy, juggling, and delightful absurdity into most all of his work, and I'm so excited to share his energy with you here. I wanted to dig deeper into Alex's philosophy of clowning in this conversation, and I ask about his classes, how he teaches, what he teaches in his workshops. How does he help people with their own inner clown? And he kindly agreed to share and speak to us about his life and work. And our exchange unfolded like the most beautiful, tender flower. It was made all the sweeter because he's also my stepson, which we find lovely and hilarious. And even though I've known him for years and years, we've never talked about his work in this way. In this episode, Alex teaches us about the power of embracing our vulnerability, being more compassionate with ourselves and others, finding courage, and being more playful when it comes to our fears. You might be surprised to discover how intelligent, how courageous, and compassionate is the spirit of clown. Please let us know in the comments what resonates for you in this conversation. I'm just delighted to bring to you the beauty and the wisdom and intelligence of Alex Pavlata. You're all going to love hearing this conversation. So I want to thank you, Alex, for being here, for taking the time, which is very precious, to talk with me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you to you. I'm really, really touched by this demand. And that's really cool. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I hope my English will be good enough.
Oh, your English is definitely. Um, so I want to start
If you
with,
want, I
yeah.
can speak with
Could you have
I can speak with a tragic French accent.
could you please be a little more French? I
A
mean,
more?
is it a little bit more? Yeah, just like a little more French.
Yeah, I will speak like this. You'll see better. Yeah, I speak like this. Very good. I am. My name is Alexandre.
Um, I want to start with, when did you first know that you wanted to do what you do? And even, what do you do? Who are you?
Exactly. Well, my name is Alex Pavlata, and I am, I don't know, seven, eight, nine generation of circus performer. We got lost in the track of the family because it goes really far behind us. And I'm a clown. I'm doing many other stuff. I'm a teacher. I'm also a director and actor. But the main thing of my life is clowning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that you really woke up to this vocation from a very young age. Like, we've talked about that before, but could you share when it was and how it was that this was like, this is it? This is what I have to do with my life.
Well, to be totally honest, I had no choice. It's a joke. Well, for your listener, I was born in the circus with my father, Sacha Pavlata, and my parents divorced when I was really young. I was five, so I stayed with my mother in Paris, having like a regular life, if I could say it like that. Going to school and every summer I would come to the States to see my father, which was at the time it was back in 78, 79. So I was 4 years old around that, and he was working with the Big Apple Circus. He moved there in '78. He had a great opportunity, and so he left for France to live in the States, and he's been living ever since. And so he started to work for many years in the Big Apple until 1986, before creating his own show called Circus Flora. So therefore, since the age of four, I came every year for a couple months, 2, 3 months, to spend some time with him. And of course, I was very lucky. I was spending some time in the States in a time where there was not as much tourist as it is today. It was very exceptional for a kid of my age coming from France to spend some time in this country and get to know this beautiful culture that I still love a lot. And that's the way I got to learn English and to meet amazing people. And so my father was working the Big Apple, doing different acts. He was doing mainly the cloud swing, which is like a rope, and swinging over there. And there were clowns, of course, great clowns. The Big Apple Circus clowns, Jeff Gordon to name one of them. And so they were doing their work, and they were great. And one day they just look at me because I was 4 years old. I was cute, like every kid, 4 years old. And they say, "Oh, we could do something with this kid," And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." I mean, I was a kid, and I was really happy. So they put, a little makeup on my face, a little costume, and they throw me in the middle of the ring. And of course, all the audience, you see a 4-year-old kid coming on the audience table, goes, "Oh, it's so cute." Kind of started like that for my path of life between the age of 5 and 15. So every year I would do clowning, and of course little juggling, a little acrobatics, a little everything, like you used to do in the circus. But yeah, clowning was something that I really also always appreciate. I mean, I like the world of it. I like the idea of making people laugh. I mean, it's something that I really also enjoyed naturally. So there was something there, but I wasn't sure yet. I was studying for some other stuff, but there was always this thing that was been there. I'm like, yeah, I like that, but I wasn't really sure. And then it's when I turned around 15, 16, I started to say, yeah, maybe it's something I really like to try to do with my life. So I went out, finished school around 18, like in the States, and I left France, and I joined my father for a couple of months in the States, and this time really working full time as a circus performer, clowning, and also everything that's around, building the bleachers and the tent and all of that. So that's really how things really started for me.
That's such a great story. I love it so much. Um, One thing that comes to mind as you're talking is how, like, a lot of people may not actually understand about like the role of clown in circus, just the way that actually in a circus world everybody really does have a big understanding of the big picture of what the show is about. And I feel like the clown really has the most understanding of the big picture of a show. In a sense, it's almost, I it often is the thread that brings everything together, the show together. A lot of times the clown is actually a very experienced performer in other domains, not just as a clown. And I kind of want to just talk about that because I think there is this big picture perspective and understanding that the clown has to have that's extremely wise. I mean, we go back to the classic, the fool, the role of the fool being the
Mm.
person that really sees how everything works and is really interested in all of that. Yeah. So does that sound like something that was a part of it that appealed to you as well?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of questions in your phrase. Uh, to start as a family, or let's say as a philosophy. I don't know if philosophy is the good word, but in the circus for many years, not anymore because things change in a good way or bad way. That's the story will tell us. But for many years, clowning was something that you would do when you were a kid because you don't know much. You don't have your act yet. You're when you're young, you're working. Your parents are helping you to work on an act when you're a juggler and everything. But at the beginning, you don't know it very well. So usually you do clowning in the beginning. Which is a very good school because it teaches you quickly how to be at ease in the ring. At ease with the public. And so it's a very good school for every circus performer. My father, they all did clowning just like me when I was 4. And then mainly all of them then become sort of specialized into a circus rig. No, not rig. Maybe a specialized in the circus act, and that therefore the clowning disappeared. They're gonna do the trapeze. They're gonna do juggler acrobatics and everything. They're gonna do a serious act. Let's just say it like that. And then when you get old, suddenly, well, you can't do the same acts as you used to do. You have to find new solution, and that's usually the old performers come back to clowning. Then there's this wise part a little bit. I've been going through all life and traveling and doing your act, and at the end, because at this time and still today, when you do this job, you do it for your life. So when you can't do anything, or difficultly, like my father, like him very well, he's been doing more clowning at the end of his age because well, he can do as much as he used to do for many years, but it's still a way of performing. So that's the little part, but it's not like this anymore. But and I don't say it was like this, but mainly a lot of scheme like this was going on for many years. Otherwise, the clown part, there's many direction in explaining or the philosophy of clown. One of them is the presence of the clown in the circus, because of course, the clown, like you say, the clowning came from the theater, from Shakespeare. I mean, it goes from a long way. But I think, knowing my little knowledge in history, the presence of the clown is also a moment of decompression. Decompression. I don't know how you say this in English, for the public, because in the circus, this act very strong with with skills and danger. A high wire and acrobatics. I mean, things where there's a dramatic tension, and you're afraid for the performers because they're doing crazy things and dangerous things and passionate things. And the clown was the moment when you need it, just like in a movie or any theater piece, that there's a moment where the public can breathe, just relax and have a good time and laugh before a new act, with the lions or wild animals. So that's also one of the function of the presence of the clown in a show.
Yeah, that's a beautiful function for everybody, even outside of show. I mean, that's why I was really interested to talk with you, because of the medicine that laughter brings us. And we, in all of the world right now, are in a lot of tension. And we do need to release it, and laughter is a good way. I know a lot of people go to watching comedy, on Netflix and specials and this kind of thing to help even just release that pent up energy. But I'm really curious like about because you've done so much comedy in different venues around the world, really, in different contexts. I mean, you've done clowning in hospitals for the kids, and I know you've traveled to places where there's extreme poverty and worked with people, right, to do clowning. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about that, like what is it that you do in the hospitals, for example?
What do I do? Well, yeah, once again, I mean, I still believe that clowning and all the different forms of clowning, like you say, like, some stand-up performers or like you say, Netflix specials and everything, they're all touring. It's not touring, but it goes around clowning. I mean, of course, we have the clown, with the red nose and the face and the costume, but it's also a spirit or philosophy. You don't need to have the makeup to be a clown, and we all have a clown around us. In every high school, in every class, there's always been this person, man or woman, that little clown, that kinds of brings usually something very light and something very naive. That's the way I see clowning, as something being really naive about our situation and about life, just to express the simple things of life. Sometimes just to go back to where we are. I mean, just regular human beings with our, with our falls. I mean, everybody has falls, and it's clowning is just a way of saying, just let's considerate our flaws, not see them as something negative, and just accepting them because that's the way it is. I mean, nobody's perfect, but instead of making it something dramatic or something negative, the idea is to say our flaws boundaries all of us. I mean, we all have flaws, and the more clowning, the more open-minded you are. You find links, with one or the other. Oh, I'm like exactly when you see a clown falling down, you say, "Oh, I'm just like this. Oh, I've done this too. Oh, I've done the same mistake." So it brings kind of a compassion and empathy. That's the way I see clowning. That's very important for me, because lately, for the last 20 or 30 years, um, well, we can see it today with the politic in the world. I mean, for me, the big problem, the major problem, is cynical. The cynicism has been taking over. Uh, everywhere. I mean, and even in my job as clowning, I'm seeing a lot of more people doing more bouffon and clowning, which is say, being mean and being a little violent, and like cynicism. That's what the problem for me is the problem with cynicism is that you don't have any more value anymore. The brain, the philosophy of cynicism is like, oh, who cares, it doesn't work, we don't believe, there's no belief, there's no more values, and therefore it becomes very individualism, and you don't think about the others. I mean, when you have people saying that compassion or empathy are a problem or a flaw, that's when you I believe, just like some Anna Arendt said in the 60s, when you start saying this, that's going to be a problem, because I think the basic of human being is compassion and empathy. Is That's the way you're going to boundary between human beings. If you break that, it's not going to be. It doesn't sound very good to me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I love what you're saying. And I love the energy of it's innocence, it's that naive quality is the sweetness, and it's the openness to life and the acceptance, as you say, of our humanity and all and the flaws, and not and just being open and being curious and being accepting and being loving anyway. It sounds like a beautiful formula, for any of us to figure out. And that's what came to mind when you were first talking about flaws. It is very hard for people to look at their flaws. It's like they haven't been trained, or they didn't ever get the opportunity to do it in a way, in a safe place, that they can kind of digest it in a different way. And that's what I also admire about your work. I in terms of like when you're teaching improvisation or clowning, I feel like that must be part of what you're doing with people. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. Really is my philosophy. I've been teaching for more than 15 years, and it's something that I'm really, really, really aware of. When I started teaching 15 years ago, I kind of reproduced what my elders used to do, and it's really is the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s kind of way of thinking, which was a little rough. It was theater or life, but I'm going to talk about theater, because it was not. You have to be rough with the students. You have to be you have to be hard on them. That's the way I was raised, and for me it was like, oh, that's the way you learn clowning, that's the way you learn theater. And for 10 years ago, I started to say to myself, no, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. And especially when I became a father also, I didn't want to reproduce also things. I have great parents, of course, just, want to make that clear to everybody, my father and my mother. But I got to say, they were raising us like a lot of parents in this. I don't want to accuse anybody, but this era, they were themselves were raised as, you have to yell at on the children, and a little slapping something, and for everybody it was kind of normal. But then with time, and especially when I become father, I say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in the yelling thing. I don't want to be in the power thing. I don't want to be an oppressor or anything. And it's the same thing I thought about teaching more and more. It's like, no, no, I want more compassion, more empathy. When I teach, I really make understand everybody that they're all friends. I mean, the clowns are the best friends in the world. That's the first thing I say to my students. I say the clowns are best friends. That they love each other. They idolize each other. I mean, if one goes down, they're all gonna go down with him. That's the boundary and the force of clowning, but also as for me as a human nature and as a human quality. All of which are once again being really, really not destroy. I don't have the term in English, but I think you understand. It's pretty badly managed today. The idea of solidarity and listening to each other and listen and to be there and to take people with your hand. So yeah, it takes. The thing is, it takes more work. It does take more work. Yeah, it's easier to yell. It's easier to smack. It's easier to say, go to your room. Yeah, it's kind of easier. The first year of teaching, I was being, oh no, you're not funny. Go out. Yeah, it's easier like that. But the solution or the production or what comes out of people is not as beautiful as it is for the last years, where I'm being more into solidarity and compassion and poetry and love. But it's true, it's taking more of me. I mean, I got to be more aware of how I teach, more aware of each personality I'm working with. I mean, like, after a day of teaching, I am dead. I am empty. I mean, I go home and I sleep 10 hours.
Yeah, no, it's a big work working with the people that way. And it does sound like you had an experience almost of your heart, a heart opening experience, even to yourself and even to this way of deciding to make that shift and look at life and go, okay, this could be another way. Like, it's a beautiful journey, that. And I think you're right. It does take courage to do that. But it's so beautiful what you're saying. And I feel like your students are very lucky to have that experience, together. Have you seen people really change before your eyes with this kind of experience, where they're working in these ways together?
Well, yeah, I've seen, but I've mainly I'm a lucky guy, but I've mainly for the last 10 years. I mean, I've many of my students. I see them growing. But some of them were young, but some of them are 30 years old, even 40 years old. So that they're not growing, but they are, yes, changing the way of working. I have different. I don't have only clowning. I have also real theater people coming to my classes because I'm starting to have a little name in the around, and even classical theater performers are more aware that this kind of work or this kind of approach. I don't know how you say this in English. Of going
Yeah.
approach
Yeah.
is very nourishing and very interesting. It really is interesting to open some new doors. And still today, like 3 days ago, I have a message from one of a student I had like a year ago saying how much she loved my work, and this workshop really did change a lot of things from a perspective of life. The fact of being more aware of the people, and also this work of naivete. That's really my thing. And that I really like to teach.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds a lot like, like anybody on their sort of trying to get through life, like a seeker, a spiritual seeker who's like suddenly going, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be this way. Actually, and there's kind of a breakdown period where you're like looking at everything, at how it's been, at the stories that have been playing out through you. And you kind of start to go, wait, it could be another way. And you open up, and it's just like, in a sense, a rebirth of innocence. And like you're saying, of naivete, even there, you sort of have your mind opened, wide open, and your heart opened. It's a heart opening experience. And then the mind opens, and then you're like, I just feel like you're able to perceive in new ways. And I think you're able to hear and accommodate for other people's experiences in new ways without judgment, and just being their clown friend. It's a beautiful kind of philosophy and way of being. you know I feel like there's tears involved, in the background of all of the, of all the fun that we can
Mhm.
have. But it's like the other side of being able to open yourself up that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard job, even though for actors or actresses, professionals, because I have professional actors coming to my workshop. But we all building our social mask. I mean, we all know that, the way we represent ourselves to the others, and of course, there's we're all creating the same. I want to say the same mistakes, but they're not mistakes. That's just the way it is. We're building masks, to because life is not easy. So the way you meet people, and how you are with people. So that is always, we never really are ourselves, because there's social codes and other codes, family codes and the work codes and the street codes, and so we're built with those codes and schemes, and therefore we're kind of in a small jail. It's a big word. I know what I'm saying, of course, but I think you understand what I mean. And I know that in my workshop, it takes about 3 days for me with them, of course, I mean, but to break these social things, because when they come to my workshop, they are actors. They have the actors mask. And it takes about 3 days for them to understand that they have to leave that go, and because what's interesting is what's behind the heart and our feelings and the human being with all the flaws, and because we're so trained to not show our flaws, which is normal. I mean, because we know that if we show a little bit of our flaws, there are people who's going to take advantage of that. They're unfortunately bad people, and but there's a lot of good people, and that's what I'm saying in clowning. In my workshop is I'm here to be good, and I want everybody to understand that those flaws are human flaws. They're nothing. I mean, there's nothing bad. It's just we're all humans, so therefore we have flaws. But like I say in the beginning, the idea with clowning is to take those flaws, say, okay, that's the way I am, and let's laugh about that because, hey, nobody's perfect. And that's what I like to create with the public when they see a clown is this compassion and this empathy that goes both way. The clown is very empathic and compassionate with the public, but it has to create a boundary with the public. And the public is going to look at this clown saying, yeah, okay, I understand what you mean. I mean, we're all the same. And the idea is just let's laugh about that. I mean, there's nothing dramatic, there's nothing bad, there's nothing, everything is going to be cool.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing like one of the like or whatever exercise comes to mind, just an exercise that you might have someone do or a group do, just so people understand the mechanics of like what happens in one of your workshops, to start to access that beneath the mask?
Well, it's the kind of difficult because, but let's just say that it's going to sound a little violent, but it's not.
Okay.
But it's just there's a moment I think it's important to go directly to how to say this in English, to the center of the work. One of the main first questions I ask to my student when they go on stage, I tell them, make us laugh. That's it. And it's a terrible question. It's a terrible question. But they all came to a clown workshop, in the same time. I mean, like I say, if you come to a clown workshop, it means you want to work clowning, so you want to learn how to be funny. But it's terrible to start like this. Okay, you want to be a clown? Good. Okay, make us laugh, And it's terrible because the person says, oh my God, of course, I am not as terrible like this. My idea is to ask this question, but of course, I'm around. I mean, I support. I just don't.
Yes.
I'm not crossing my arms and saying, oh, go ahead, make us laugh and not say anything anymore. But in this process, the idea is to put that person in a situation of fear, of insecurity, all of that, which are the flaws we were talking about. And some of them going to be very shy. They're going to be afraid. They're going to be in discomfort. And my idea in my teaching is to say this discomfort is not a flaw, is human. And yet this discomfort, you have not to subir, how you say subir, uh, don't leave it back you, give it to the clown. And the clown will have laugh, is going to play with this discomfort. And therefore, the act is going to become a clown act. Oh, I hate when this teacher is telling me to be funny. I don't want to be funny. I don't want to be funny today. I've seen this many times in my workshop. Because it starts from a real feeling of the actor. He says, I don't like it. I don't like this exercise. And I say, okay, now give it to your clown and have fun with that. And it makes a click in the brain. Suddenly says, because you take distance. That's the idea, is to take distance from yourself. And you take your fear and you play with your fear. And suddenly it's so much like, oh my God, I can be afraid, but I can play with the fear. And that's when you create compassion and empathy, because everybody's going to look at you or look at this person and say, I know exactly what he's feeling right now, because I am afraid too. When I ask the question, go ahead and make me laugh, I am terrorized, even me as a teacher, because I have empathy for him. I see myself in the same situation. I'm like, oh, I'm a fucking monster. Why do I say that? Why do I ask this? But I know that it has to go through this path to break some things.
Yes. Yes. There has to be that confrontation. And it's like the path to authenticity is kind of like a total breakdown first. There has to be something. It's just such a beautiful and difficult process, but it feels like it would be so rewarding in the end. And it's such a skill that I think anybody who even didn't want to be a clown, it would benefit from being able to take that distance and to play with and understand it's okay. And to remember it's okay to be in discomfort and to be in fear. And then just even acknowledge your own true feelings, it sounds like, underneath it all. And then to be able to like express them out. It must be so transformational.
That's exactly the base of the work, is to accept exactly what your feelings and to respect your feelings. Yes. That's exactly what it is about. And the idea of behind this is say your feelings are okay, and not only they're okay, but please tell us to the world. Tell all your problems, tell all your fears and everything, and have joy with that. And we will love you for that, because you're telling things that everybody feels inside. And it's very liberating. And like I say, in the teaching, the 2-3 first days are like this, and suddenly there's more click in the brain. And the idea is just try to be yourself. I mean, let's be yourself and just have fun and have pleasure. And because there's so much judgment, we judge ourselves. Our worst enemies are ourselves, and we're constantly judging ourselves. Oh, I'm not going to do this. What are the people going to think about me? Oh, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to do this joke. We're always judging, because that's the society. And the idea in the workshop or in the clown is to try to break this judgment, because they're suffocating ourselves. Sometimes I like to say it in a more positive way, because when I see somebody judging himself, so therefore he doesn't do what he wants to do, he does censorship. For me, judgment is like a good mother, but overprotecting the child. So it's not a bad person, a mother. Mother is not or father, of course, but mainly we have this scheme of a mother. It's a mother overprotecting, because she loves her child. She doesn't want this child to hurt or to have a problem. So she's protecting her child, which is normal, but just a little too much. And that's what I say to my students. It's like a good father or a good mother, but just overprotecting. And you have to say to you, say, Mom, I'm going to be okay. I am going to jump this river. It's a small river, and everything's going to be okay. I'm going to jump in the swimming pool. It's going to be okay. And of course, everybody, you're a mother, I'm a father. You're like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And so you go, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and everything goes well. I want to do skateboard. Oh yeah, oh my god, he's going to break her leg. He's going to do this. But as a father or a mother, you have to let them go, because that's the way they're going to learn life. So that's also one of the process of the teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great way of putting it in a way that people aren't like, yeah, in a positive kind of a frame, but people can relate to that. Everybody can relate to that. And everybody can
Yeah,
relate.
because
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
because people, when they're in this situation of judging, many times I said they're rough on themselves. They're let me, I'm stuck and everything. They're mean. They're getting anger to themselves. I'm like saying anger is not the solution. I can understand that you feel frustrated because you wanted to do something and you didn't do it. So frustration brings anger, and that's when I started to have this vision of saying, okay, don't be angry. It's just a person that wants to protect you too much, but it doesn't start from something mean. It doesn't start from something bad. It's just starting from love and just protection. And you just have to, again, I'll repeat myself, you just have to say to that person, which is yourself, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Nothing bad's gonna happen, and you're surrounded by good people, because that's my goal in every workshop is like I said in the beginning, creating boundaries, compassion, empathy, and you're surrounded by people that love you, and that we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, no, it's you definitely create a safe container for this exploration, which is essential. I can imagine because yeah, we're in the world, we are definitely feeling unsafe or judged or worried or like we're all trying to figure out how to get through and life and deal with one another. And it's such a gift to be able to have go to a space where you can really explore and be vulnerable where it's going to be safe. Nobody's going to make fun of you and you're going to have a lot of fun. But it does take a certain willingness to let your guard down in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like you just said that you say the right word that I was searching for the last 20 minutes is vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Yeah.
For me, clowning is having this the courage of showing your vulnerability. And I've seen a TEDx, but I forgot the name of this woman. But it was really interesting about vulnerability, saying how powerful it is. Like we say in the beginning, we have this reflex on not showing all this, our vulnerability, because we have to be strong. We have to be strong. We have to be here. We have to, we have to make the good decisions, and we have to control everything, and we can't live like that. And this woman in this TEDx, I'll try to find the name and send it to you. But it was amazing because she was saying how powerful it is, on the contrary, to show your vulnerability to others. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a very important skill and practice, not a skill. It's a practice. And
The
it's a
practice.
yeah, because it's yeah, a practice is it's I don't know, it can become more and more part of you as you practice it, but I imagine that it's just such a different frequency for a lot of people, such a different way of being for so many people. You have to also see the examples out in the world of it and then be able to, people modeling it, then get the opportunity to practice it with people in a safe way, and then you start to trust more and more that's where you want to be and live in that zone, you know but yeah,
Yeah,
it does take a lot of self-compassion, which is also in a way a practice and a trust. There's a lot of trust, yeah, in doing
yeah.
the work.
It's a tough job. It's not easy. I mean, and once again, for those listen to that and they say, "Oh man, I don't, I'm not enough compassion, or I can't." Don't be rough on yourself, because first of all, it's unuseful to be rough on yourself. It's not you're not going to construct nothing being rough on yourself. It's not worth it to be rough. You have to be compassionate with yourself, and you have to understand that it's a hard life, and it's a hard world. I mean, and everything, again, everything around us is trying to make us believe that these qualities of compassion and empathy and solidarity and understanding, and to be together and to try to help each other, all of these are treated really bad, and not only in your country, but the same in my country, everywhere we can see. I mean, the rise of this kind of way of thinking, or the strong is the best, and the weak is the weak, and we have to smash everything, and you have to be men. It's a manly world. Very virilist, and I mean, it's really hard to keep faith, and to keep faith, and to be compassionate, to keep those things going on. I mean, I have a hard time, to be honest. I mean, for the last couple of months, I am myself I can find myself many times, having those dark thoughts, and suddenly I'm like, wow, 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 wow. And I see all this information and everything that goes around our life, how difficult it makes it difficult for us to keep on believing in humanity.
Yeah, I imagine one of your tools may be to go into your creative work, to redirect into your creative work.
Yeah, mainly. I mean, I'm lucky on this part. My job is clowning and teaching. And so it keeps me, and it keeps me aware of all that. And I try to keep on saying, what can I do? I mean, what can I do to help the world? What can I do? I mean, I'm just a clown. So, what I can bring, it's very small. It's a little pebble, but it's my pebble. That's the way I see it. I ain't going to change the world. And I don't want to change the world, because I don't have the power and I don't have the strength for it. But through clowning, I can say to myself, well, tonight, those 200 people that were in the theater, they had a really good time. They laughed and everything. That's the moment where I brought something into this world.
Yeah.
For that moment, and for those 200 person, for that night, for 1 hour and a half, I changed. The people lived something different for an hour and a half, and I lived something different for an hour and a half. So I think it's also very important to stay humble. And for me, saying to myself, well, sometimes I do a little video, and I post it, and I know that for 30 seconds, people are going to go, that's funny. It's 30 seconds, it's nothing, but it could be a lot. I still believe that if everybody brings a little pebble, well, at the end, it could be something big.
It can be huge, and maybe it could change. It can make shifts. I mean, your pebble is very beautiful, Alex. I mean, I mean, it's just whenever I think of you, I smile, and I remember all of the times, how many good times we've had, and how much laughter, just I mean, all the creative work that you've done. It does crack me up, and then everything shifts in my day. Everything can shift in the day, and that's a miracle to me. It's a miracle, because it's a lot about just like directing our minds, remembering who we are, which is this essence you're talking about. It is the spirit of the clown energy of that. That's going to help us more than anything. That's why I do think it's a medicine of sorts, for what is going on. And I have also loved how you've collaborated and brought your son into your clowning work. It seems like he's able to just go with the flow of that as well with you. I know you guys have done videos together, which people could find maybe on your Instagram. I don't know where, but if you want to,
Turn
it's,
on Insta and on Facebook. Yeah.
yeah, we'll put Alex's links in the show notes for anybody interested, and someday maybe hopefully he'll come and grace us with a workshop in the States in the studio. But I'm just curious, like, who has made you, and what makes you laugh, or who has inspired you the most in terms of that,
Wow.
as a essence.
Uh, a difficult question. Uh, so many people influenced me. I mean, I think I'll start with maybe David Shiner. When I was very young, very, very young, I was around 15, 16, and therefore that was 35 years ago. I don't know how old he is now. I think he's in his 60s. I think he was young too. I think maybe 20, 25. And he really kind of revolutionized a little bit the clowning when he arrived in the circus world. We'd never seen that before. I had the luck to see him on the street, and he was just wild. I mean, he was playing with everything. I mean, I've never seen that. And I was born in a circus, so I've seen between the age of 5 and 15, already 10 years, I've seen a lot of good clowns. But it was the first time I was seeing so much freedom. He was on the street, a very simple character with a suitcase, and he was playing with everything. I mean, with the pigeons and the people, and just totally improvising with everything. And it was, for me, it was like a revelation. I was like, wow, it's possible to do this. It's possible to be that free and just have such a good time and having all this crowd. There was a crowd around me laughing, just laughing, laughing. It was an amazing feeling. That would be one of my first person. The second would be Django Edwards, which is an American clown, but not very much famous in the States. He became really famous in the 70s, 80s in Holland, first of all, mainly Holland and Germany, and a little bit in France. That was my second one, and this guy was wild, very wild. I mean, really, it was more of a punk clown. I mean, over the age, too much, way too much. But that was amazing to see somebody on stage like that. I mean, a lot of people saying, "Yeah, but Django is doing too much." Django, I said, "Yeah, I agree. It's going too much. He gets naked, smash beers on his face, just eats sausage with his nose. Yes, it's too much. But like I said, we need people like that. We need people that goes too far. We need people that goes to the edge, because it tells you also, and again, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible to be as crazy as that. So it's not worth it, but I think it's worth it somewhere. I don't know where, but for me, that kind of madness is really important. Just to say that humankind is very rich in its diversity, and we have to nourish that, and we have to nourish those. I don't know how to say, those crazy people. We have to nourish them. We have to give them for granted because they're taking risk all the time. Yes, they go too far, and yes, sometimes they're all going too far, and then we're gonna tell them, "Well, you don't know, that was not good. You were that joke was not funny, and that thing was not funny." Yeah, but that's our job. I mean, there's Jim Carrey said something like that. Well, I love this. He was very, very famous already. Huh? That was 5 years ago, and he was at, I don't know, maybe the Golden Globes, and he's presenting Jim Carrey, funny and everything, and he says one joke that doesn't make people laugh. And I don't remember, but he says a joke, and everyone goes, ugh, and he says it. That joke was too much, but that's my job. And I went, wow. I mean, Jim Carrey, 30 years of work, one of the most funniest guy, and he's saying his vulnerability in front of millions of people, saying, I went too far, but that's my job. I decided to be a clown, and therefore the risk of being a clown is sometimes to go too far. That's the risk.
I just, tears, actually. I was very moved by that. I think I'm thinking of my mother. So I just brought her to my mind as you said that. But yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Your mother that I know very well, for me is also an example of someone so wild. I mean, and I've known her for 25 years now, and there's so many times, just like you saying, "Oh, she's going too far. She's too much, too much." But at the same time, we need people like that. That's why I love your mother. And that's why she's always somewhere in my heart and in my brain because, yeah, sometimes she goes too far, but we need people like that. And she's so passionate and she's just so amazing. And there's a faith somewhere in these kind of people. I'm not even sure they know it. I'm not sure they know what they're really bringing, but they're bringing so much to ourselves and to for life and human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're taking risk that not very many people take. I mean, it takes a lot of nerve, for an American woman to go to Greece, to go in the Middle East in the 70s, to do belly dancer. I mean, if you put this on the flat world, you say, wow, it takes a hell of a courage to do that.
Yeah.
And we need people like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We really do. No, I agree. I agree. She's yeah, people like that are some of our greatest teachers and really, as you say, show us what is possible. That we, that there is in a way, it's just the limits of our mind that makes things feel impossible. And we can do far more than we give ourselves credit for or we allow ourselves to do. And so there are those examples that just really go, oh my, wake you up and go, oh my God, that's yeah. Instead of judging it, let's embrace those energies and bring them a little bit more into ourselves so we can kind of balance out because we've all been very like holding ourselves back in a lot of ways, in many, many ways. That
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
serve.
I mean, that's, yeah, you just say the right word. Instead of judging, embracing. That's exactly what I'm talking about also in teaching. Instead of judging, embracing. Again, if you have a child, I mean, that depends on your way of education, but I mean, you want to nourish your child, you want to do that, go ahead. You want to try that? I mean, even inside my brain, I'm saying, "Oof, he's never gonna do it," but I'm not gonna say it. I'm a good father. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, you want to do this? You idiot!" I'm not gonna say that. It's a terrible thing to say. You want to be a cook? Go ahead. I will buy the knives and I will buy the eggs and I will buy the flour and I will be with him, and encouraging him. And that's why how and encouragement, because people say, oh, with the children, with the children, this mind of saying we have to embrace them and encourage. It's a way of thinking for people in 20, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s. I mean, all our life we need embracing. It looks like what I hear around me is like, oh, it only belongs to the people from 0 to 20 years old. And then that's it. That's your life. Now yeah, you're an adult. You're responsible. It's your own shit. No. I mean, I am 50 years old and I need somebody to sometimes take me my arm and say, Alex, I believe in yourself and believe in yourself. I need to hear that at 51. I mean, I need also this, just like I needed when I was 5, 10, 20, and I will need it till I'm 70, 75, 80. We need to embrace and not judge and try to, yeah, really, because we always a child somewhere, and we always need comfort and embracing, you know.
Yeah, we do. It's so beautiful. Well, I'm going to bring this to a close, so I don't want to take up more than an hour today. I could talk to you for the rest of my life, which I hope to. I love you so much, and I so admire what you do. And I so admire the vulnerability, the quest for freedom, the risk taking, the adventures, the willingness to communicate and keep showing up again and again that you do. And so I'm just very grateful that you were willing to talk with me today. And I do think it's helpful for people to hear these kinds of conversations and to remember, the love of the clown that they have within them, and that it's a beautiful way to see the world, to be together, and in that way, I think you and I are very lucky to have been exposed to this kind of, the energy of clown, from a young age, and be able to understand that it can operate in our everyday life in a lot of ways and help us through tricky times. But yeah, so is there anything else that you would like to share? And would you be willing to come back one day for more conversation?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I mean, like you say, it is. I hope that people will listen and they're gonna say, "Oh, well, what a good, interesting, or touching moment." But I would like to say, also me saying those words makes me feel better. I need this in this moment in my life. I really need to say those words because I need to hear them. I'm fighting every day. To against, like I say, the cynicism and the cynicism of this world. I need. That's why it's good to talk about your mother and Django, or those people that I've seen in my life, Jim Carrey and everything, because it's important to go back to this Robin Williams. There's something we need to know, that we have only one life to live. I mean, only one. I mean, it doesn't mean do whatever you want. Don't, does that mean go crazy and be stupid? That doesn't mean this. It's just, let's try. Let's just try to help each other. Let's try to help ourselves, help each other to have a better life. To have a better time. That's this, it's pretty basic. It's stupid, but it's good to say it and it's good to hear it.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I don't think it's stupid at all. It's not.
I
It's
know.
it's perfect. It's wonderful. And yeah, it's important it's so much comes out in the expression, and in the expression opens our heart. Oh my God, the light just popped on over here.
I saw that. What a
Okay,
timing.
I'm seeing the light. Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, so I'll be sharing like a couple of fun, like some of the people you mentioned. I might put links to them in the
Sure,
show
sure.
notes so people can check it out. And but yeah, I thank you again, and I guess I'll be seeing you uh on Zoom again. I wish I were seeing you in person, but that'll come pretty soon, I hope.
Oh yeah, it will. It will. Don't worry.
Thank you, Alex, for being on Mythic Mel.
Thank you to you.